Okay, all right, let's get this started. Hello again, everybody. My name is Phil Stern. I am the Partner Program Manager here at Nuso. Accompanying me today, or more like me accompanying him, is Patrick. Introduce yourself.
How's everybody doing? This is Patrick Foster, VP of Channel Solutions. I think you all might have been looking forward to hearing from Anthony, but he had another engagement this morning, so I jumped in, and I hope I do him justice.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Between the two of us. We are super grateful for everybody that's joined. I see a lot of people on this call. So great to see. And today's topic, it is a good one. So how to navigate around natural and technological disasters with Nuso. We are going to go over some of the reasons why we are not only highly qualified as a solutions provider, SaaS, full stack provider, all those things, not only highly qualified, but we are truly equipped, and it's very easy for us to make your customers' lives, your lives, redundant for all different types of situations that come across us living here in the US. So wherever you do live, whether it's East, West Coast, somewhere in the middle, it kind of applies to everybody, really. And so Nuso, as I touched on before, we're full stack. So we're a carrier. We provide UCaaS solutions, all the features within that, but then we've also got a whole bunch of other things in there, like an MMS platform, the ability to move numbers at will with an incredible back-end product called Nuso Flex, which if you haven't heard about it, you're going to hear about it more today because it is very relevant in the world of disaster recovery.
Yeah, so as we get started, though, I'd like to remind everybody that if you've got questions as we go through, please feel free to chat them in. That we're not going to take up too much of your time this morning. Before we get into the, Nuso solutions that you and your customers might be able to leverage to better navigate those disasters, just a couple of statistics about the disasters that we've seen already this year and last year. Already this year there have been 19 weather and climate related disasters that have caused more than $1 billion in losses each, and that's a pretty phenomenal number. It includes 15 different severe storms, 2 winter storms, a wildfire, and 1 tropical cyclone. And NOAA predicts that there's an 85% chance of above normal Atlantic hurricane season this year. So they're forecasting between 17 and 25 named storms. So those disasters are out there, and as Phil mentioned, those things can hit either coast. They can hit right here in the middle of the country in Texas, the great state of Texas, where I am today. The other thing that can not only hit us here in the US, but also worldwide, is things like ransomware attacks. In 2023, it was actually 72.7% of organizations worldwide reported a ransomware attack that they had been affected. And that's a 10% increase from 2020, which was the last time that metric was taken. And then also we all remember, because it wasn't that long ago, the CrowdStrike bug that affected, just in the Fortune 500 companies, it affected about 25% of those. And those 25% of the Fortune 500 companies that were affected, they reported their revenue loss for that period of time due to that bug at $5.4 billion. So a substantial amount of money that can be lost, whether that's a large company or even a small company, and we can relate that to to interrupted phone service, and that's one of the things that we want to touch in today is how can Nuso help with that continuity strategy for communications. And so we've got several different solutions that we'll touch on today. There's probably ways that even things like our SMS and MMS platforms can help customers stay connected to their customers. But the ones we want to touch on today: unified communications, our contact center solution that's hosted in the cloud, SIP trunking, and a couple of features there, Cloud Attendant and Cloud Voicemail. And then we'll also touch on Nuso Flex. So as we move forward, right, thinking about unified communications and just inherently in unified communications is the ability to have mobility apps. Those could be native to the NUSO platform, or more and more we're seeing people integrate our platform into their MS Teams deployment. And so whether that's being able to utilize that that application on your desktop or on your mobile phone over a cellular network, you're able to continue to stay connected to your customers. The fact that we've got geo-redundant data centers, and those data centers are all over the U.S., and as NUSO grows, we're continuing to deploy and upgrade our data center locations. And in fact, we just turned up a new interconnection in Denver. You've got that ability to forward those calls, right? If you don't have good stable internet connectivity, but you've got folks who are maybe outside of the affected area, the ability to move numbers around, and of course you can do that either through our web applications through the management portal. Customers can do that themselves. You all can help them and assist them in that. And of course, our NOC always stands ready to assist those customers. Phil, anything that I'm forgetting from a UCaaS front?
Well, what I really wanted to hit on the head, and you did touch on it, it just can't be overstated how much focus is on Microsoft Teams right now in our current environment. The growth of that product starting during the pandemic up till now is absolutely insane. We've talked about the numbers on many webinars. The growth is crazy. Obviously, I'm sure you all hear about it constantly, whether it's your customers using it, but the ability to tie in the reliability of NUSO's network into that incredible platform, which it really is an incredible platform. Their mobile app is one of the best out there by far. And then, of course, it ties into that entire Microsoft world. Just from a NUSO perspective, the demand for that integration is insane. And then, of course, it ties into that disaster recovery aspect so fluidly. So that I really wanted to touch on that again, because I know, Patrick, you see it all the time too, but the demand for that is incredible.
Absolutely, and it continues to grow. And as we release new products, that can leverage the power of Microsoft Teams that we'll be announcing here pretty soon, it's just going to continue to take off. Another area where we've got a solution that's able to leverage the cloud in disaster instances is our contact center. And so being able to allow those agents again to log in from anywhere, whether that is on their desktop, on their mobile device, on their from a different location, being able to shift your contact center maybe over to a temporary contact center outside of an affected area. And being able to direct those calls, forward those calls to any destination, and continue to take those queued up calls is very important. And thanks to the fact that in the cloud across multiple geo-redundant data centers, we have those instances hosted.
Yeah, this is a huge one. I actually, about 9 years ago, I was working in a call center, and we were stuck to our desks. And when the power went out, the bosses were not happy because there was no money coming in the door. And this fixes that problem entirely. I mean, I live in the Midwest. I'm in the St. Louis area, so talk about right in the middle. And we get pretty much every climate you can think of for the most part. So you've got snow and ice in the winter. You've got the heat in the summer. And so there's a lot of reasons why people might not make it into the office just where I live. But then look at the East Coast. They're currently getting hit by a hurricane, right? With flooding and all kinds of other stuff. And anybody in the call center world can have people stay at home, stay safe, and keep those calls coming. I mean, that's huge.
That's right. As we move on to the next solution, I want to mention that this solution is probably applicable to some of you folks on the call. I see a few names, so this will be applicable to, and some of you who maybe not, but we absolutely still have hardware deployments, hardware phone system deployments that are out there. NUSO supports those hardware deployments through SIP trunking. And then we've taken some innovative approaches to our SIP trunking platform to still be able to think about how can we help those customers stay connected to their clients, stay connected to their customers in emergency situations, in disaster situations. And so, having that ability to forward those calls, down remote access to those trunks and forwarding, and those things can either be set up, predetermined and set up so that when there's an interruption, it fails over, or it could be as simple as reaching out to our NOC whenever a disaster happens. Our NOC is always there, standing at the ready to support our partners and our customers. And with our, release of our cloud attendants with Hunt Group distribution, right, that allows you to configure, change, and manage all of those things through Nuso.io and deliver that robust auto attendant to answer those inbound calls and route them out to that proper destination, right? Even if there's been an interruption, recognizing that disruption is there and sending those calls where they need to be in order to be answered. The cloud voicemail solution, again, sitting out there so that even if the on-premise system is down and you've lost that on-premise voicemail, the customer still has the ability to leave a voicemail, and the company that you're supporting, your customer, is able to access those voicemails, or those voicemails are able to be forwarded out somewhere. So the thought process beforehand of saying, hey, what happens if there's a disaster there? Those things that we don't ever want to think about, right, are the things that we're trying to take into account to support our customers, to help them stay connected and be able to deal with the emergency, but keep their business going.
Yeah, the Hunt Group distribution piece is really big for certain customers with pretty complex phone system environments. If an outage does occur and people can't get to those various departments that they need to, that is a big hindrance on an organization that has that complexity. And so this is a great way. I would go to your customer, say, hey, reference any type of outage, because outages have happened. We've always got a reference point, and say, hey, this is a way we can get around it. It's a great way for you to make some additional money, and then your customer's going to like you even more.
That's right. The last thing that we want to touch on from a solution standpoint, this is really a solution that sits out in our carrier environment, and some of you may have heard us reference it in the past. Some of you may have been affected by one of these scenarios, and so you've heard us talk about flexing numbers. But because of the unique way that we have deployed our carrier network, we have the ability to reroute calls around impairments, and provide that inbound call redundancy, right? Everybody can offer outbound call redundancy today, but we are one of the handful, I think it's a very small hand, by the way, of folks who can offer that inbound call redundancy, route those calls quickly and efficiently around impairments. And kind of the analogy that we typically refer to is, think about your GPS. And if you're trying to go from point A to point B, and you go that route all the time, you go from your home to your office, and you're always drive down the same roads, and all of a sudden one day they could be a tree falls across the road, an accident. It could just be regular maintenance on a road, but your GPS reroutes you and says, you know what? There's a problem with this normal route that you take, and so I'm going to direct you around a different route to get to where you're going. And then it continues to monitor and see whether or not that impairment is still there. And once that impairment is gone, it routes you back down the most efficient route. And so that is what we're doing with NusoFlex, is constantly looking at the networks, looking at the paths that calls can take, and identifying when there are circumstances that we need to route calls around those impairments, whether they're disaster related or whether they're routine maintenance related, route those things around those impairments, and then of course move them back once those impairments have been taken care of. Phil, you want to talk about Hurricane Beryl in specifically?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. This needs to be talked about, because, and this is not, of course, to paint any type of us taking advantage of a natural disaster, because we don't want it to look like that. But this is
just a real world example of where
exactly
we were able to leverage the power of NewsoFlex to the benefit of our customers.
Correct. I mean, just look at those two numbers at the bottom. Over 150,000 phone numbers we moved, and Patrick just talked about how we've got a mixture of AI and machine learning monitoring all the traffic at all times. Well, when an event like this was noticed, we went to work and we pushed these 150 plus thousand numbers. And then it relates to over 3.1 million calls that actually took place when, I don't want to know the number of how many calls didn't get through because they weren't on Newso's backbone network, but there were a lot. Another number that's not on screen is that 3.1 million calls translated to over 3.8 million minutes of talk time as well. And in that moment of disaster where family members are trying to touch base with people, loved ones, I mean, that is huge. So you're not just talking about the business side of things there, but when it's a big, life-changing, potentially life-threatening event like Hurricane Beryl was, the fact that we can keep those calls moving, that is huge.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the other thing to think about too is it's not always just the affected area. In the example of Hurricane Beryl, that hurricane took out a data center that affected phone calls outside of just that immediately affected area. And again, the capabilities of NewsoFlex to monitor that traffic, to monitor the traffic on the entire network and make those changes as necessary is pretty powerful. Phil, if you want to tell us a little bit more about some of the tools that people can leverage to get more information.
As a Newso partner, you have a lot of different ways to get things done. And we are fully aware that some of our partners, they want to do it themselves. And so we've got tools for you to do it yourself. Our management portal, you can see your customers, you can configure those environments, make the tweaks and changes like we talked about today. So we can forward numbers real easy. I'm talking probably just a couple clicks, and I can forward just myself with I'm not one of the NOC experts on the back end. It's not difficult to do. We've got access to a very intuitive quote tool, so you can create quotes very quickly, get those out. You can, of course, always lean on your channel account manager for this assistance as well, and we encourage that. Tons of our partners, a lot of you on this call, you are busy. You sell a lot of different services. Maybe it's not just phones, and we know that. So lean on your channel account manager for help. If you need them to spin up a quote to get it to your client because you're busy doing 50 other things, that's what we're here for. But two other resources. We've got a commission report. So people want to see the money they're making, the breakdown. You've got that in our management portal. And then the last thing to reference here is our resource portal. I still talk to partners all the time on a weekly basis who have no idea what this thing is. And this is an incredible database that we have. It's got almost 500 unique pieces of documentation, training videos, how-to guides, data sheets, all kinds of stuff on products we have, services we have, unique features within those products, and how to self-service, and then also, informational stuff that you can get to prospective customers. You can get in there for free. If you're not there, just head to resources.newso.cloud. You can request an account, and the rest is very simple. You're just going to set a password and you're in. So yeah, those are a couple of the tools that you have at your disposal as a partner with us.
Awesome. I think one of the other things to mention is that, we try to not overburden your mailbox with lots of messages from Newso, but we do send things out from time to time. In fact, later this week, we'll be sending out an email that talks specifically about the situation with Beryl and how we moved those calls around, how other providers struggled with for weeks with outages in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, among other states. And so, be on the lookout for that email, but also other emails, from our marketing organization. Sometimes these are things that are specific to just the partners, and sometimes they're things that are also great to share with customers. And with that, I think the next steps are, as Phil mentioned, if you're looking for more information, you can visit the resources.nuso.cloud partner portal so that you can download those great white papers and data sheets and other materials that are out there. Those things can also be co-branded so that you can put your branding on some of those items as well. Reach out to your channel account manager. They're there to assist you, as Phil mentioned. They can help you, both with quoting, but also with navigating the different tools that we have, getting a better understanding of those tools so that you can be self-sufficient and go get those things when you need them. And then lastly, our marketing team stands by ready to help you, just like our NOC. They can be reached at marketing@nuso.cloud. And so with that, I'd like to thank everybody. Y'all have a great day and a wonderful week.